Welcome back to Dirty 20, everyone. It's finally happening. We've talked about them quite a bit in the past, but today we take a look at Hobgoblins. Let's get on with the show. Thanks for joining us, lovely people. Continuing on with our series where we take a look at some of our favourite monsters in the Monster Manual. Today we take a dive into the very warlike culture of the Hobgoblin. Before we do though, I wanted to talk about the other Monster Manuals. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, the Monster Manual is part of the core rulebooks. Those are the Player's Handbook, the Monster Manual, and the Dungeon Master's Guide. But there are books that in fact expand on these core books. Things like Xanathar's Guide to Everything and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything kind of give more to the players and the DMs to expand on. And Volo's Guide to Monsters, Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, and the recently released Fizban's Treasury of Dragons all expand on the Monster Manual, giving you some great fluff as well as more stat blocks. For this series, to keep things simple, we're really focusing just on the Monster Manual, but I would definitely encourage you to read the expanded lore that are in these books for some of the monsters. As, for example, reading about the blood war between the devils and the demons gives so much context, or at least so much more context, than a simple stat block can give. Likewise, in Volo's Guide to Monsters, there is a section on goblinoids. Now, this includes goblins, bugbears, and hobgoblins. This will give you a sense of the connection between these three different groups of monsters. But today, as I said, we're focusing on the hobgoblins in the Monster Manual. These humanoids have an orangey reddish skin tone, yellow or brown eyes, and sharp teeth in their mouths. Some sport a blue or red nose, which is a sign of virility and power. Basically, if a hobgoblin with a blue or a red nose rocks up to you, be nice to him, because the chances are he's probably in charge. And when I say in charge, I mean of an army. Hobgoblins are very warlike in D&D. Very different from their mischievous counterparts which come from folklore, and have in fact been a regular staple of D&D since the very beginning, the White Box in 1974. They organize themselves into tribal legions where every hobgoblin has a rank, and these are headed by a warlord along with several captains. Strategy, victory, glory, and reputation are their main concerns. And perhaps here we come to one of the first things that really kind of tickles me about them. They are not stupid by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, they have wizards amongst their ranks. But their ability to act strategically is what I find really, really interesting. I imagine the Mongol hordes of Genghis Khan and how they were seen as just like savage barbarians, when in fact they were incredibly sophisticated in their tactics. And so I can see the parallel between hobgoblins and the Mongol horde. The other thing that I find really interesting about them and their culture is them as beast trainers. Hobgoblins will often be found riding wargs as steeds into battle, which makes for a classic image of fantasy with warg riders chasing down the party. As to how I might use these guys in a campaign or a one-shot, well, I've discussed it quite a lot in previous episodes. For example, the one on Displacer Beast and the recent one about Henchmen. Check those out if you haven't already. But I really like this idea of a failed commander or failed leader. So let's imagine that the party finds themselves in a sticky situation while out exploring the wilds. They are attacked by some beasts and about to be overwhelmed when a stranger comes to the rescue. He turns out to be a hobgoblin, once a leader of a small tribal legion. He was ousted by a usurper, and now has asked you to help him retake his tribe. I think this could make for a really good adventure, and it does that thing that I really like of just doing some nuancing in showing that not all hobgoblins are these evil creatures, which quite honestly I find a little bit dull. But the other more straightforward approach would be a town besieged by a hobgoblin legion. Perhaps the PCs are hired to get someone past the blockade into the town. But as we know, no job is ever that simple. Now, before we take a look at the Hobgoblin stats, please make sure that you have subscribed to the channel and make sure that you hit that bell icon so you don't miss any videos that we upload. Okay then, lovely people, let's take a look at page 186 in the Monster Manual, where we have 3 stat blocks for the Hobgoblin. We have the Hobgoblin, the Hobgoblin Captain, and the Hobgoblin Warlord. Starting with the Hobgoblin, we can see challenge rating of half, 11 hit points, not particularly tough. However, an armor class of 18 is not half bad. So again, if you have a large number of these bad boys, they're going to cause your particularly lower level parties quite a bit of trouble. Now, they do have a special rule, which is martial advantage, and this is something that all hobgoblins have. So, it says, once per turn, the hobgoblin can deal an extra 7 damage to a creature it hits with a weapon attack if that creature is within 5 feet of an ally of the hobgoblin that isn't incapacitated. So again, tough if you have a whole load of them because they're going to be doing extra damage. And, 7 extra damage in a round is nothing to sneeze at, especially when you've got maybe 20 hit points at the early stages of a character's career. +3 to hit with its longsword, also has a long bow for ranged attacks. A useful minion for a little horde. I think handy if nothing else. Then you have the Hobgoblin Captain. Now this is quite a big jump because we're going to challenge rating 3. And suddenly it's 39 hit points, 17 armor class, as well as a multi-attack with a great sword, +4 to hit, and doing 9 points of damage. They also have the martial advantage, but unlike the Hobgoblin, rather than doing 2d6 extra damage, an average of 7, these guys are doing 3d6 damage, extra damage, an average of 10 once per turn, which is very nice. And then they have this other action, which is leadership. For 1 minute, the Hobgoblin can utter a special command or warning whenever a non-hostile creature that it can see within 30 feet of it makes an attack roll or a saving throw. The creature can add a d4 to its roll provided it can hear and understand the Hobgoblin. A creature can benefit from only 1 leadership die at a time. This effect ends if the Hobgoblin is incapacitated. So essentially, they're able to help their underlings, a non-hostile creature, so a friendly creature essentially. That's interesting wording though. I wonder if that could open up a loophole. But it recharges after a short or long rest, just basically meaning that you can't necessarily spam this as a DM. You can't just have, everyone with an extra d4 whenever they have to make a saving throw, for example. But again, that's a fair jump from our standard Hobgoblin. And then obviously we have the Hobgoblin Warlord. Now, 20 armor class, first of all. It's going to be really hard to take this guy down. 97 hit points. It's not a whole ton, but it's certainly a lot more than, you know, even the captain on 39 hit points. Challenge rating of 6. And their martial advantage gives them 4d6 extra damage, or 14, again, once per turn. Not bad at all. The Hobgoblin Warlord makes 3 melee attacks. Or it can throw 2 of its javelins. But it's got a longsword. It has +9 to hit, and an average of 7, or 8 if it's using it with 2 hands. It also has a shield bash, which is +9 to hit, 5 bludgeoning damage, and if the target is large or smaller, it must succeed on a DC 14 strength saving throw or be knocked prone. And actually, being knocked prone is massively a pain in the ass. So definitely something to worry about. Also has this leadership ability, which gives them an extra D4 to a friendly when they are making a saving throw, or even making an attack as well. So these guys are helping their minions hit more often. But it also has a parry, which is a reaction. The Hobgoblin adds 3 to its AC against 1 melee attack that would hit it. To do so, the Hobgoblin must see the attacker and be wielding a melee weapon. So, essentially, you know, an armor class of 23 once per turn at least. Not bad at all. Again, not impossible to deal with, but certainly a massive challenge for some lower level characters, which I quite like. And I also I like the fact that, you know, you've got 3 different stat blocks to choose from, and, you know, in that sense, I think that yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think they're great bad guys to run, and any one shot or campaign would be you know, very, very exciting with them. Now, just to highlight the fact that in Volo's Guide to Monsters, there are a couple more stat blocks. The Hobgoblin Devastator, which is a challenge rating of 4. And the Hobgoblin Iron Shadow, which is a challenge rating of 2. But they're kind of like monks, which I think is really, really cool. So like a wizard and a monk edition. But the ones which are in the Monster Manual are fantastic, and I highly recommend them. There we have it, lovely people. Thank you so much for watching. What are your thoughts on the Hobgoblins in the Monster Manual? Have you used them successfully in any campaigns? Let us know down in the comments below. Like, share, and comment, as it really helps the channel out. Take care of yourselves, and, as always, keep slaying. If you've enjoyed this content, then please smash that like button, subscribe, share this around online, and come and visit our website, www.lavictoriaproductions.com, to see all our past episodes, as well as our blog posts and all the stuff that we're currently working on at La Victoria Productions. Why not reach out to us and tell us what you think of our videos? You can reach us on Twitter. @MouthLaVictoria is our producer. We are also on Instagram. I am EnanoLVP. and our producer is Jazzy J. Cherot. We're also La Victoria Productions on Facebook and LinkedIn. Come on by and let us know what you think.